welcome to the first PFI Local Sports Podcast. I'm Father Kirk and Executive Director of the organization. I'm delighted we could be here this evening and launch this PFI podcast, Local Sports Podcast, with these two wonderful gentlemen on my left and right. Coach O is on my left and Coach Anderson's on my right. And they're going to be the co-host of this as we take this podcast forward. And I'm just excited about what it can mean and where we're going to go with it. So let me begin by asking Coach O, let me ask you, why do you think I chose you to be one of the co-hosts of this podcast?
Well, I think the reason why you chose me to be one of the co-hosts of this podcast because of my experience of being a current coach, also a former athlete, and a mentor to athletes, as well as podcasting in sports as well.
Got that right. Coach Anderson.
Well, I think you chose me because of my experience as one, as a player, two, my experience as a coach, and then also my experience as being an athletic administrator and helping and encouraging kids to move forward, and also being part of PFI for the last 2.5 years and understanding where we're trying to go with the program.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, you're both spot on. Let me say this. The mission, the message, the why is so young people in the community, no matter where they go, they see, hear, and receive a message that no matter what's happened to them in life, they can overcome it. Not only can they overcome it, they can become a generation of difference makers. And so that's key to why we're here. So Coach O, one of the things that I want to say about you in terms of my believing that you'd be right for this, we had a conversation about NIL, name, image, and likeness. And your passion around that subject really touched my heart in terms of what, to me, the kind of person you are, values, what's important to you in terms of with young people. And Coach Anderson, you and I go back a couple of years, and I remember when you brought me a young man that other people had kind of either given up on or at least didn't realize the kind of difficulty and trouble that he was headed for. But you looked beyond the surface and really looked at what he needed and the kind of help and support he needed. And that told me that you're a person that doesn't look at the surface, but really cares about young people deeply and finding support and help for them. So that's been in my heart since we first met. Coach O, why don't you say something about, since I mentioned it, can you just elaborate about the name, image, and likeness and what you share with me? Maybe the audience would like to know what your position is on that subject.
Okay, you put me on the spot now because I know a lot of coaches get mad at me about some of the things I'm going to say. I think the name, image, and likeness is a great tool for any student athlete. I think it's deserving of them for their talent. You know, they paying them, giving them a chance to make some money. But I think it should be some parameters put around the NIL deal as we discussed. Let's say a student athlete gets a $5 million deal. I think when they get that $5 million deal, they should get a certain amount up front because it is their money. But I think some of the stipulations that they should put on the NIL deals is if a student is passing the first semester, let's reward him or her with their own money. If they fail the second semester, then that second semester you don't get any money. But then come around that third semester, if you pass the third semester, now you get the money from the second semester that you didn't do so good in, as well as in the third semester. I think that'll give them a reason to try to get their degree or whatever the case may be, because that's what the ending goal is for that student athlete to obtain their degree. Now, let's say that student decides to go on to play professional sports, which is fine. If they go play professional sports, give that student athletes 5 years to come back to obtain their degree. If they don't obtain their degree in that 5 years, I think the money that they left on the table should go back to the athletic program that they was participating in.
Amen. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Coach Anderson, will you elaborate on what the young man in that situation that we first met?
Yes, when I first met Father Kirk, it actually happened, barbershop talk, my name came up, and Father Kirk found out that I was an administrator in one of the local districts, and I had been working with kids. I don't toot my horn, but what I do try to do is help every kid that I can. We had a kid that was talented from the ages, from Little League all the way up. We always knew that he was going to be great. He had great length. Was an intelligent kid and had a family backing. but he had a dark side to him, and a lot of people just didn't understand that side of him. He was a great athlete, but was at that current time a follower. Didn't understand his path and who he was and where he wanted to be. He just wanted to be cool at that time, which most kids do when they're going up through high school. But he put himself in some situations where it cost him an opportunity to play football and be a part of a certain program. With that being said, with him, he was always a kid that had a heart. It was hard to get him to trust, but once he started trusting, he understood that we had his back from the get-go. He started opening up and being honest with himself. Once he was honest with himself, the picture that he painted for himself started to change. And now he's having a great opportunity to be one of the most successful athletes to come through Galveston County. So look forward to seeing him in the future.
So as we launch out, again, chosen for your heart, your passion, your knowledge, and your willingness to be difference makers. And this is about, PFI is about developing young people who can become a generation of difference makers. So I commend you both, and I think that we made the right selection. And I think we have two great coaches to lead us in this direction as we seek to develop young people in sports who will become that generation of difference makers and help stand in the gap for others. So I want to thank both of you for taking on that and being willing to do that. Coach O, you want to?
Yes. First off, Father Kirk, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this show and this program, as well as Coach Anders. Thank you as well. Knowing Coach Anders for a while, and he was telling me about a time that this podcast was going to come about to help young student athletes, and he's a man of his word. He stuck by his word. I would always bother him, talking about, hey, I'm ready. Just let me know, and now we're here today, and I really appreciate and thank both of you.
For me, it's more back. It goes back to first grade. I'm going to be upfront and honest about where I was academically. Going through kindergarten, I was that kid that didn't last long in the academic realm when it came to pre-K and the daycares. I was a terror for all of those teachers. But I had a first grade teacher, and her name was Miss Wallace. Shame to say, but I didn't know my alphabets, and I couldn't count to 25 when I got to first grade. But with the opportunity in which she gave me, she allowed me to go to tutoring after school before I went to football practice. But she advanced me not only to catch up with all those in first grade, but she helped me surpass them and have opportunity to be in all the pre-AP and AP courses, advanced courses going into second grade. So she saw more in me than I saw in myself. So I want to give that back.
Thank you, guys. And like I said, I really believe in the two of you and what this is going to mean for young people, the PFI Local Sports Podcast, and how it's going to help us develop a generation of young people, and particularly athletes, who will become difference makers. So I thank both of you. Thank you.
Finally seeing this Powerful Future Initiative Local Sports Podcast coming to fruition, just looking at it in my eyes and the way I see it is sky's the limit for this program and what we're going to offer, not only for ourselves and the adults and parents that are listening, but also for the kids and learning how and what avenues they can take to make themselves better, whether it's sports, technology, entertainment, or media, but also for another educator, being able to listen and to the information that we provide, go do your background research just to make sure that we're on point. But also at the same time, it gives you something, bits and pieces to keep those kids engaged because it's an ever-changing world and kids are changing.
I like the fact that I'm going to use one of your sayings that there's no roof to the ceiling. That means we can keep going up and up, venturing out, doing better things for the student athletes. One of the things I look forward to doing is educating the student athletes on to being able how to talk in front of a camera, because a lot of times you get some kids in front of the camera, they don't know how to talk, they may pause, they stuttering, and I was once one of them, because getting in front of the camera and not knowing what somebody going to ask you, don't know how to prepare for the questions and stuff like that, as well as giving the kids a platform to be able to let people know about their talents, the things they doing, what sports they playing, and what they doing academically as well.
Coach, let me challenge you a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so we want this to be impactful, young people, community. So what do we do with a young person that says, well, those guys, they just teachers, they coaches, but they don't really have the bank. They made it. Why should I listen to them?
Well, I'm gonna tell you my story. I was once sitting in your shoes. I was that overweight, heavy kid with asthma and severe allergies. Wasn't planning to go outside. They told my mom I was one step from being in the bubble. With that, I took that as a challenge. I told myself that's not going to be my story. I'm going to rewrite everything that they said about me. Luckily, I had some parents and family members that pushed me. I went from that heavyset kid in the neighborhood to a kid that went from linebacker, running back to quarterback. I lost the weight. I would go running. We had a 10 building in the back, and I would take a football and I would throw at it every day. I would go to the park. I'd be the first one up asking those older kids. I didn't play ball with kids my age. I played with older people, the Georges, the Tony Tollivers, the Robert Bilbos, the guys in my neighborhood that were 4 or 5 years older than me. And the rule was the first one with the basketball get to play the game. So here I was 4 years younger, but I was always the first one with the basketball. So I pushed myself, and everything that I got was earned. It wasn't given to me. I pushed myself academically. Everybody thought it was a shoe-in. Oh, he's a smart kid. No, I struggle with education. That's not my forte. I struggle with reading. I struggle with just common English. But at the same time, I'm not going to let that be anything that defeat me or put me behind anybody else. I think that I can push myself to be his best. Then I also had the height requirement that I didn't meet. I was told that I would never be a quarterback playing college football. Well, I also, changed that too. So just being who I am and knowing when I hear the word can't, that encouraged me to do way more.
What about the you talk about the kids that want to focus on entertainment almost to the exclusion of doing the academic work, the hard work, putting not just the sports work, but bettering themselves, their mind, and what do you? I hear you talking about the entertainment, but what do we do with these kids that they want the glitz, they want the glamour, they want the bling, and that's what sports means to them. But as far as being finishing degrees, we talk about that. We talk about NIL. What about that in terms of how do we deal with the emphasizing the importance of education and getting the education and fulfilling, even if you do one and done or whatever, but coming back. What's to incentivize them once they got all the material to do the education piece?
Well, the education is everything. And, you have the no pass, no play. So if you're not doing what you're supposed to do in the classroom, you're not going to be able to touch the field. And it don't matter what sport you play. And I think academics is very important. We all know that. And the end goal is obtaining a degree or a master's or whatever the case may be. Is help out there. Coach Anderson already spoke on it. I was one of those kids, too. Wasn't very academically inclined. My worst subject is math. Took me a long time to go back to get my degree. Just graduated last year from Lamar University with my degree. And I felt like a hypocrite because I was telling student athletes that you have to get your degree, and I ain't even have my degree. So it goes to show you that it's not too late to go back. It don't matter how old you are to go back, but you have to obtain your degree. Education is important. If you feel like you somewhere that you're not getting the help, you have counselors in place you can go to. You have coaches you can go talk to. So there's no reason, teachers you can go talk to. So there's no reasons that, you're not trying to excel to get your education. So academics is important, and you can be that outstanding athlete, but if you're not getting your books, nobody going to know anything about you. But if you do maintain and get your academics and you do get your books, now you can go on to the higher levels, which is to be college, and hopefully get an opportunity to play professional. But if not, you have a degree that you can fall back on and be able to obtain a job and a career.
When we talk about that, we talk about a thing called a path to success. That's been my big focus and what we talk about for our kids. And when we talk about path to success, it's what is your path? Because everybody's path don't look the same. Some kids' path change lanes. Some of them pivot and turn, make that hard left turn down that dirt road, trying to figure life out, and then they get it straight. But at the same time, what is the foundation you have set academically and athletically that you can always go back to? So, and part of that path to success is one, determining what am I good at. Like I tell kids, I wasn't good at English. I did just enough to survive in English class. But I made sure in math and science, I made great grades because it's an accumulation of how well you do together in all those classes. It's not just by that one specific class. So if I'm just subpar in English, that doesn't mean that I can't be successful. That just means that I got to work a little bit harder.
Right.
If I'm not successful in math, that means I got to work a little harder. Some people are great route runners. Some just are not. Some are just bruisers coming off the line. Some people are slam it down on volleyball. Some are finesse and just finding holes. It's just finding who you are and being great at what you do.
Like how you use that sports analogy right there. I like
Absolutely.
that. I like
Absolutely.
Coach, let me go here. In terms of your hope for this, your dream for this, is have you summed that up for us? You think you?
Yes, my hopes and dream for this podcast and what we're going to give the student athletes as well as parents and friends of the student athletes and parents is that we want to educate you about sports as well as academics. We want to educate you about being on social media, the do's and don'ts. We want to educate you about how important GPAs are, how important class ranking is, and taking the SAT and the ACT. So I think we can do a lot of things to educate our audience, our student athletes, in being successful as well as monetizing themselves with NIL deals and being able to make money off their name, image, and their likeness.
Coach, what are your closing thoughts on hopes and aspirations? I mean, on that subject.
With this task is to help them understand with those roads. And my analogy here is when I first moved to Houston, I stayed right off a major highway that took me straight to my hometown. But I wasn't aware of my opportunities or my path in which I needed to take. So we had a major storm, but I knew a way how to get there. And it took me all around Houston. And then I came back to my point of start right by my house. I knew right then I need to educate myself on how to get around. And that's what this podcast is going to do. It's going to educate you on how to navigate through some of these obstacles and things that you don't know.
We will have a lot of topics that we'll be focusing on, and one of them would be
GPA, grade point average. Grade point average is very important not only for the student, but it's also important for the athlete. It will let you know where you stand when it comes to earning scholarships or opportunities to further your education. So we'll deep dive into that.
Another topic that we'll be focusing on is mental health in sports, because I believe it should be sports psychology in some schools. This will help the student athletes with the mental aspect of the game as well as dealing with issues on and off the field.
We'll also talk about women equality in sports. We'll deep dive from junior high all the way up to the professional level on some ways and aspects in which you can create opportunities for your young daughter and the young woman in your life.
Another topic we'll be focusing on is NIL deals. I believe name, image, and likeness is a big part of the game now, and it's changing a lot of aspects of what student athletes are doing, from jumping to school, as some of the athletes would say, as chasing the bag. And make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms, whether it's Instagram or on YouTube, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Also, look at us at PFI Local Sports Podcast.
Hi, I'm Father Stephen Kirk, Executive Director of the Powerful Futures Initiative, powerfulfutures.org. We're beginning our media podcasting for the summer, and we're starting a new podcast, a PFI Local Sports Podcast, and the Dickinson Girls Podcast. And I just want to take a moment on this occasion to thank all our corporate sponsors who've come through for us this year, allowed us to have 2 outstanding basketball camps, and now we're moving into our media. And so we just want to say thank you, and a special shout out to the Dickinson Management District that provided us with a major grant this year under the leadership of their president, the Reverend Johnny Simpson. So we're just thankful for all our corporate sponsors, especially Dickinson Management District, for all your support this year and the way that you've helped us, investing us in impacting, transforming lives in Dickinson ISD. So as we begin on this occasion for this podcast and media work, we take a moment to say thank you for all your contributions, and God bless you. Thank you.